Thank you. Thank you for confirmation that the live stream is now started. So welcome to the meeting of Cabinet. My name is Jonathan Lester. I'm the leader of the council, and so we'll be chairing the Cabinet meeting. In addition to those councillors present in the room, we have two councillors joining us via Teams. And I will now just check that they can see and hear us. Councillor Fagan, can you see and hear us?
Good morning, Leader. I can see and hear you. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Stark, good morning. Can you see and hear us?
Good morning, Leader. And it's nice it's not raining here for a change.
Yes.
And I can see and hear you, Leader.
Thank you. A dry day in Ross for a change. Thank you. So we're also dry day, right? Yes. We're also joined by all group leaders who are all in attendance and all in the room, and we're also attended. Also in attendance is Councillor Proctor, as well as Chair of Scrutiny Management Boards. You're all very welcome. So thank you. I will now formally open the meeting. The agenda papers and other relevant information for this meeting are available for public viewing on Herefordshire Council's website. The Council is streaming this meeting live on Herefordshire Council YouTube channel and making a recording. To ensure that the recording quality is maintained, please speak as clearly as possible and keep background noise to a minimum. Microphones should be muted when you're not speaking. Only one microphone will be able to be used in one time and will flash red when it's your turn to speak. If you have an issue with your microphone, please let the clerk know and we will replace the microphone. Please make sure that the laptops and mobile phones are set to silent. Others are permitted to film, photograph and record the public meetings, provided that it does not disrupt the business of the meeting. If any members of the public are present or will be present attending this meeting who do not wish to be filmed or photographed, you will have to notify a member of staff. As we move through the agenda, in addition to the discussion by Cabinet members, I will invite group leaders to indicate if they wish to provide the views of the group and raise questions. Where appropriate, I will also call on scrutiny chairpersons to comment on behalf of their committee, and everyone has the opportunity to speak once on each item, that being group leaders. So voting will be undertaken by a show of hands in the room. Only Cabinet members physically present in the room may vote. Okay, so we go to first item on the agenda, which is apologies for absence. And we've received apologies from Councillor Biggs, Councillor Crockett. Are there any other apologies? No. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interests. So I'll ask the meeting, are there any table A or table B or any other interests for items on the agenda today? None, thank you. Agenda item 3, with the minutes of the previous meeting, excuse me, no matters of accuracy have been notified to the monitoring officer. Cabinet members, are you content that the minutes of the 27th of June and the 18th of July are an accurate record and should be signed? Yep. Okay, thank you. Excuse me. So agenda item 4 is to receive any questions from members of the public. Members of the public have the opportunity to submit questions to Cabinet in writing ahead of the meeting. We have received 2 questions for this meeting and the responses have been published as a supplement to the agenda papers. Those who have submitted a question have been also given the opportunity to ask a written supplementary question or attend in person to ask their question live. Supplementary questions should be no more than a minute in length and must include a question. So can I ask the clerk if we've received any supplementary questions?
We've received one supplementary question from Mr. McKay, who's asked me to read it out. It's for Cabinet Member for Transport and Infrastructure. Would you consult with the local access forum concerning this suggestion and your priorities? My thinking that the UCR roads are managed by BBLP and public rights of way managed by yourselves, so not any priority conflict.
Thank you, Mr. McKay, for the question, and if I can ask Councillor Price to provide the answer.
Yes, thank you, Mr. McKay, for the supplementary. I'm more than happy to consult with the Local Access Forum on this matter. I attended the LAF meetings in my role as Cabinet Member, so I will ask this matter be considered at a future meeting. Whilst I have noted Mr. McKay's comment regarding responsibilities, this piece of work would draw on the Council's resources as well as that of Balfour Beatty, and does need to be considered against other existing commitments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Price, for that answer. Agenda item 5 is to receive questions from councillors. We've received one question from Councillor Proctor and an answer has been provided. Councillor Proctor, seeing as you're in the room, would you like to ask a supplementary question?
Thank you. I'm happy with the answer that's provided.
Many thanks, and thank you for that question. So we now go on to agenda item 6, which is reports from scrutiny committees. No reports have been received from scrutiny committees for this meeting. So we now go on to agenda item 7, which is the Children and Young People's Persons Improvement Plan Progress Update, which is phase 2. The purpose of this report is to present to Cabinet with a phase 2 of the Children's Services Improvement Plan for endorsement. So the item begins on page 29 of the agenda pack. And before Councillor Powell introduces the item, Councillor Fagan would like to speak on this matter, and we will come to her after Councillor Powell has introduced the item. Thank you. Councillor Powell.
Thank you, Leader. Cabinet won't take up too much of your time because obviously you've got the covering report and the improvement plan itself. The improvement plan was revised by the corporate director and went to the Children's Improvement Board for comment and endorsement in July, and has also recently in September been considered by the Children and Young People's Scrutiny Committee. The plan focuses, as you can see, on the 9 recommendations for improvement following the Ofsted inspection. It includes a revision of the quality assurance framework in particular, and just draw your attention to 3 of those areas. So a focus on key performance indicators, so the data, all members will be familiar with the kinds of information that is included in that through the all-member briefings that the Director has been leading over recent months. But, in general terms, has a focus on the timeliness of workload and workflow. In particular, the second element of the quality assurance framework is hearing the voice of children, families, parents and carers, so enabling us to understand the impact of what we do. And our audit activity, so understanding the quality of the practice of work that is delivered. So those are the main focus. You'll see a plan on a page that the Director has developed, and that is specifically aimed at the staff. It's gone down well. It gives them clarity on what is expected of them to deliver the improvements required. So I don't think I need to say anything more on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Powell, and Cabinet members can comment in a moment, but I'd like to go to Councillor Fagan, who's the chair of the Children's Scrutiny Committee. Councillor Fagan, over to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lester, for letting me have this opportunity. The Children and Young People's Scrutiny Committee discussed the revised improvement plan in detail alongside the issue of quality assurance and auditing at the meeting on the 17th of September. The committee welcomed the focus on improvement actions and the refreshed focus on auditing across the whole partnership of services for young people to drive the pace of change with the improvement journey. It was felt that the robust approach to auditing would help to assess the impact the service was having on the lives of children and young people. The approach to restorative practice was particularly welcomed, and the committee felt it was important that this was rolled out across the whole children and young people partners in the county at pace, which we understood to be the intention. The importance of ensuring that children and families, but particularly the children's voices, were heard and responded to, and that the services that worked with those needs in mind all the times was really important. It was evident that for this to be successful, we need a strong voice for those being worked with. And it was felt that it was extremely important in terms of changing the culture of how children, young people and their families are listened to and heard, and their needs driven across the services in the county. The workforce challenges within social work and the importance of having stability so that those relationships can be built and maintained with children and young people and their families was also discussed at length, and we had previously talked about workforce at scrutiny. The committee recognised the achievements that have been made to this end and the work that continues to drive improvement in this area. The committee also felt that the consultation with families on the right time, right place thresholds of need and managing risk should receive far greater publicity and exposure to ensure that the county families understand and agree with the thresholds, and that this was particularly important as our risk-averse approach to delivering social care for children has really come under the spotlight over the past few years. The committee also welcomed the initial discussions around child-friendly Herefordshire and is keen to know more about how this will possibly be delivered in the county, although currently it's in its very early stages. We accept that. Importantly, it was felt that ensuring the needs of children and young people were clearly identified in developing plans, such as the local plan, and when considering budget and assessing the impact of decisions that are taken across the council, but also across the county. Importantly too, it was how we might develop this brand across all sectors in Herefordshire so that there's a real and tangible impact on the voices and lives of children and young people. In fact, speaking to colleagues in Leeds, I know that they have done an audit of their child-friendly Leeds, and what's come out very clearly is that issues like planning and highways really do not take into account the impact on the lives of young people and children. So that's a potential area that we could look at as well. And the committee felt that the new improvement plan was easy to read and the ambitions were very clear and the actions clearly identified. They expressed gratitude for the work that had gone into the new plan and also reiterated that through a stronger voice for young people and families in Herefordshire, only then would we be able to identify the real impact of the improvement journey that we've undertaken. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Fagan, for that really comprehensive feedback, and thank you to the Scrutiny Committee for giving this matter their attention. Really appreciate that. Cabinet members, questions, points to raise? Okay, first, Councillor Swinglehurst.
Thank you. Improvement's not a destination, it's a journey. It's a voyage. And if I can just sort of extend that metaphor a little bit, to navigate the rocks and storms, you need a good hand at the helm, you need a compass, you need a map. And this plan is the map. It shows us where we've been, where we're going, how we're going to get there. And I'm very impressed by the sense of grip at the helm and the sense of direction and purpose in this plan. Given the short time frame, the improvement in performance is impressive, especially in some of those really intractable areas that we seem to have discussed a million times, like recruitment and retention. Starting to see something build there, which is really encouraging. I've got a couple of questions. Start with the recruitment and retention, very pleasing to see these increasing numbers, and I would just like some assurance around the ASYE cohort workloads and support so that they stay with us, because they're really kind of important part of building the future. And also that I'd noticed that there's fluctuation in foster carers and also an increase in connected care households, and how do these things relate, and why is one preferable to the other, and how do they work together? I'm I think the way that the plan closely connects with the Ofsted recommendations is really helpful. So you can see that there's a clear line of sight between what is required and the plan to get there, which I think is really good. It's a very clear plan in that regard, and overall I think it's an excellent document. Early indications are encouraging, and I wish the cabinet member and the new director well with their delivery of this really important piece of work. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Swinglehurst. Councillor Powell, did you want to respond?
Oh, well, thank you, Leader. In terms of your, so thank you for your comments, but in terms of the 2 points you raised, ASYE, so the assessment supported year in employment, we do, across the department, as you've heard with regard to the Children's Improvement Plan, we monitor caseloads in detail across the whole of the department. For the assessed and supported year group, they have a reduced caseload. They tend to get allocated the less complex work. They wouldn't, for example, have a child protection case allocated to them. And the work that they are doing, they are supported by a supervising social worker. So that would be that point. And in terms of foster care and connected care sometimes also being known as kinship care, we will naturally expect to see our connected care numbers fluctuate. In particular, as we continue to embed our restorative practice model. Of course, you'll be familiar that what we are seeking to do there is to work with families much closer to home, to support them, to manage the risk in the home. So in doing so, obviously, that reduces the need for some children to go into kinship care arrangement. Foster care generally presents some recruitment challenges, particularly foster carers who feel able or confident to support children who have more complex needs. So we do recognise the challenges there. We are undertaking fostering recruitment. Both the Chief Executive and I have been to recent foster care events, and recently we've held the second annual foster care celebration event known as Foster Fest. So that's become an annual celebration and recognition of the importance of foster care to the county. There's been a separate briefing to the corporate parenting board on that, so it won't take up too much time, but the Foster Fest event was recognised as being really important to the foster care families. Within our recruitment strategy, as part of the conversation at the recruitment events, the one thing that we have done, of course, is to implement council tax exemption for foster and kinship care. And currently we are reflecting on how we might recruit, particularly in the market towns, and how the offer of community support and indeed business support in market towns may encourage people to come forward to be foster carers. Yeah, enough said, I think.
Thank you, Councillor Powell. Councillor Stoddart.
Thank you, Leader. Can I just go on record to acknowledge the really hard work done by Councillor Powell and the Director of Children's Services for the effort and grip that they're applying in such an important and challenging area. So thank you from me. Thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Powell.
My apologies. I just wanted to address one specific point mentioned by Councillor Fagan. So the request at the Scrutiny Committee, as Councillor Fagan's reported, was for the community events to consider the thresholds guidance document to be more widely advertised. So I can confirm that has been done. And it is particularly important because the thresholds guidance document is the document that professionals use when considering particular sets of circumstances and what the appropriate multi-agency response is. Not all, it isn't only deal with children's services. It includes early help, it includes targeted early help. So the opportunity for the partnership, the Children's Safeguarding Partnership, to talk to communities about the levels of need and the decision-making thresholds is a really, really important opportunity. But I will confirm that it has been more widely advertised than was previously.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Powell. Any more comments at this stage from Cabinet? If not, I open the floor up to group leaders if they would like to make comments about this item. No, no one. Oh, right. Okay. I think it was. I think it was. Who was first? Sorry, Councillor James.
Thank you, Leader. Fine words, butter no parsnips. You know, the document is. It's 12 years since we first had a negative Ofsted report. It's 5 years since the manure hit the fan, as it were, and the situation had not improved but got worse since that. And during those 12 years, we've had numerous documents like this with worthy statements and worthy aims, and it may do. And I am perhaps a little more cheered by the fact that I think there is a little more grip on the situation than there has been for a very, very long time. But I am concerned about, and I think Councillor Fagan mentioned it, and I think it is important, that I still think that we're not hearing the voices of the families and the children as much as we should be hearing. We need to be hearing how they perceive. I know it's going on to a certain extent, but there is a feeling that this is happening behind closed doors. I know to a certain extent that it has to because of the confidentiality, but I do feel that, and it's unfortunate that perhaps the families have not got a single organisation or forum in which they can work together outside of the council, and there are reasons for that which we won't go into. But I do think, you know, the sooner we get a feeling more that we are getting somewhere, not that there are encouraging signs. You know, I've heard that for 12 years, encouraging signs. I think we need, you know, to see firmer progress in this area. There are still some concerns in certain areas already. I'm getting quite a bit of feedback on individual issues. But, you know, I think the Cabinet Member has made progress in actually listening to the families and listening to the children. And I do hope that the progress will continue.
Thank you, Councillor James. Hold that thought. We'll come back to that after we've listened to other group leaders. But we note that point. Councillor, was it Councillor Harvey? Were you next? Sorry.
Thank you, Leader. Yeah, Independents for Herefordshire welcome this updated improvement plan, and also the work that has been going on to strengthen and broaden the quality assurance activity, which walks alongside this and gives us some real tangible evidence of areas of improvement. And we can see from some of the statistics that are being referenced in the plan that there are many areas where improvement has been seen over the delivery period of the first improvement plan. And also importantly, it does highlight where there are some areas where performance is sliding backwards, and there may be important and good reasons for that, which hopefully will come to the fore. So broadly, we welcome this. The scrutiny committee meeting on the 17th, it was helpful to have the quality assurance item sitting alongside this on the agenda, and it was concerning for us as a group to hear that that the soliciting of feedback from families and children was not deeply embedded in the way that we were engaging with children and families day to day, and that we weren't at the moment collecting information in a way that allowed us consistently to evidence the not only hearing those voices, but also demonstrating that we were acting on that feedback. So hopefully progress will be able to be made in that area, and we were given every assurance in the scrutiny meeting that was going to happen. So we look forward to seeing evidence of that moving forward. But it's important that we have this update of the plan, pushing it further forward. And I like Councillor Swinglehurst's extension of her journey metaphor. Yes, of course, when you go on a journey, it is important to know which direction you're heading in, and a compass always helps, and a map does help as well, and also understanding some of the timetables that you might be needing to consult. So it was good to see that we've got some clear time frames that are identified for delivery against this plan, and I commend that to the leader and to the cabinet in the context of one of the other agenda items that we have in this meeting, which is the performance report, which is lacking in that area at the moment, and I look forward to that being an extra column that's added into the performance report for Q2, but I'll maybe come back to that later on in the meeting. Thank you very much, Leader.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. I'm sure you'll remind us when we come to that item. So thank you for that. And Councillor Toynbee?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Herefordshire Green Group is really pleased to see this plan. It's nice and clear, and we're very grateful for all the work that's gone into it. And we're also very pleased with how children's scrutiny is working at the moment. Just two things, 2 points really. Firstly, on corporate parenting, and secondly, on early help. The first Ofsted recommendation, as everyone can see, is about corporate parenting. And we are very keen on, we're very aware of the expectations on all council members in corporate parenting. So it's really important that the plan makes that clear. There's a nice section, but it slightly focuses on the corporate parenting board and empowering the corporate parenting board. And we would like to see more of an emphasis on empowering all members of the council, not just the board, but all of us. And secondly, on early help, it was, I endorse what Councillor Fagan and Councillor Powell have said about thresholds. It's really, really important. This phrase, early help, that we hear a lot, what do we mean by that? And when we're talking about all the many, many partners and services in Herefordshire, there's a lot we could say about how fragmented and under-resourced they've been. We do need this shared concept of where the thresholds are, so it's really important that we work on that, and I'm really pleased that progress has been made about that. I'm really pleased that our website is a lot clearer about what do we mean by early help. If somebody goes on the website, it's clearer now how to make an early help assessment. It's good to have a directory there of the various services, and that people are getting more help to make the assessments. As we often say, we do have family hubs in Herefordshire, and they're called schools, and they do a really great job with our children. And so it's good to see in here an item about formalising the early help offer in schools. And it's frustrating that this has never happened because the picture is so extremely fragmented. So it's very difficult to make it happen. But I'm really pleased we've got to prioritise that. Project funding is a problem. A lot of services need core funding, not project funding. There's so much short-termism going around. It's difficult for schools to know what there is out there, but they definitely look to us to coordinate, to liaise, to help them provide the services that they do for children who need support and families who need support. It's amazing what they actually do. So I'm really pleased that we're going to formalise that, and I assume that as well as putting together a plan, we are actually doing it, because I feel for staff who feel as though they spend their whole time drawing up plans and strategies rather than actually getting on with it. So again, on early help, you know, we see in here to review the evaluation of early help and agree a plan for a sustainable future for early help. Yeah, I'm glad we're doing that, and let's keep on making it as clear as possible, especially valuing our school partners and making it as clear as possible for them and giving them the support they need. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Davis?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I would like to say that the True Independents are right behind this plan, but we have to accept that there's more work to be done. If there isn't, I mean, why are we here? There's always going to be more work. I agree with my colleagues, I've listened to them, and I feel that there are certain things that I can pick out from it, but in the main, this is a really positive move forward. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Davis. Going back to Councillor James' concerns, a note he's encouraged about the fact that he perceives there's more grip. I would suggest that there's a lot more grip, but hearing the voices of the families, I know that there's been lots of work done about engaging with families. So can we just reflect on the work that has been done to make sure that we are engaging with those families and getting their feedback? We have a microphone malfunction. Is it? Oh, it's working.
Back on now. Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Leader. So, slightly in reverse order. So, the point that Councillor Harvey made about that the voice wasn't deeply embedded, we would acknowledge that, absolutely. And then moving on to both that point and the point raised by Councillor James. So, I've explained in the Children's Improvement Framework, it is clear under the Quality Assurance Framework, that one of the three underpinning elements is that we get the voice and understand the experience of children, families, parents and carers. That's absolutely explicit in there. Excuse me 1 second. So most recently, or very recently, the Children's Services have launched the process by which they actively engage 1 week on after intervention with those families. In the most recent attempt to gather feedback, we received responses from 6 out of 7 families who said that they did understand why they had been allocated a social worker and what they were going to do. All of the families who were 7 of the families who were spoken to said that they were able to share their views with the social worker. One person responded that they didn't find it was possible to share their views with the first social worker, but said definitely with the others who then followed. And one respondent commented that they felt it was a little bit insensitive at the start, but it did improve over time. 6 out of 7 respondents explained that they had received a copy of the child and family assessment and the child's plan. 100% responded that they felt there was nothing that the social worker was unable to support with. 100% of the families thought that the professionals involved with that plan worked well together, and 3 families reported that they found that partnership working experience to have happened very well. 6 people felt that having a social worker or a social care worker had made a positive difference, and nearly all of the respondents felt that the social worker could not have done anything better. So an example there of some of the feedback that we are now starting to receive on cases that are being actively worked on now. Of course, we recognise, and I personally recognise, as Councillor James has explained, that I've met with a number of families. I've talked to people who felt that they didn't have what they felt was a good experience. And it is important that we've reflected on that and we've learned on that, and those experiences have been reflected in our improvement plan and in our improvement journey. But it's equally important that we hear from families experiencing what is happening now, so that we can reinforce to our social care workforce where families are receiving that service well, and also to pick up on the small number of cases where families still give feedback, where they said, for example, the one individual who felt that the work was a little insensitive at the start, but got better over time. If I could pick up on the corporate parenting board. So, Councillor Toynbee, absolutely, we can work together on that corporate parenting board. But just a polite reminder, if I could, that of course we are all corporate parents and we all do have that collective responsibility. So, by all means, if you've got an idea or you want to get involved, want to become a corporate parenting ambassador, for example, then by all means get in touch. The point about early help. Yes, of course, early help is a system. It's a system offer. And I particularly wanted to pick up on the schools, because we absolutely recognise the great work that schools do in supporting children, in delivering the quality of education that they do. But would acknowledge that, if there is more that we can do in terms of our communication and engagement, then of course we will do so.
Okay, thank you very much for addressing the points that were raised during the group leaders' feedback. And Councillor Powell, you've proposed that we accept the phase 2. I'll happily second that. So I look to all cabinet members. All in favour? Okay. Thank you for your vote, Councillor Davis. But if you'd like to join cabinet, see me afterwards. Okay. Right, thank you. So we now go on to agenda item 8, which is the Q1 2024-2025 budget report. The purpose of the report is to report on the forecast position of the 2024-25 at Q1, which is June 2024, including explanation and analysis of the reasons for the material budget variances, and to outline current and planned recovery activity to reduce the forecast overspend. It's also to provide the assurance that progress has been made towards the delivery of the agreed revenue budget and service delivery targets, and that the reasons for the major variances are understood and are being addressed to the satisfaction of the Cabinet. The forecast outturn shows a net overspend of £10.8 million at Q1, before management action estimated at £4 million to reduce the forecast overspend. The item begins on page 59 of the agenda pack, and I look to Councillor Stoddard, Cabinet Member for Finance and Corporate Services, to address the item. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leader. This report is the first forecast outturn position for financial year 2024-25, and I would like to remind my Cabinet colleagues that it represents 3 months of actual transitions and 9 months of estimated income and expenditure. It is therefore more a forecast than fact. It does, however, highlight a number of emerging budget pressures due to increasing demand across social care budgets, temporary accommodation and special educational need transport services. This year's approved revenue budget is £212.8 million, which includes planned savings of £19.5 million, which is broken into £11.6 million of directorate savings, together with £7.9 million of council-wide budget savings. The Q1 revenue, the Q1 revenue outturn position for this year shows a variance from budget of £10.8 million, which represents 5.1% of the budget before any management actions are applied. These management actions are currently planned to reduce this overspend to £6.8 million, as shown at Table 2 of the report. This variance represents total cost pressures of £12.8 million, which are comprised of £4.5 million of in-year net cost pressures. These are for increased demand for adult social care, temporary accommodation and home-to-school transport. £4.8 million of the 2024-25 savings targets currently assessed as at risk. the at-risk rating is a prudent assessment to highlight those savings where activity is not progressed enough at this point in the year to evidence that the savings can be realised. Identifying these savings as at risk ensures focus on delivery and/or mitigation. £0.4 million of financial year 23-24 savings targets addressed as at risk, and then £2.4 million of council-wide savings pending completion of directorate restructuring and vacancy reviews, and this represents the balance of the MERS target. These are then reduced by £1.3 million of already delivered children and young people's 2024-25 savings, which were previously removed from the 24-25 budget by the Councillor Hitchener and Councillor Fagan amendment in February 24. Initial activity already underway is expected to reduce this forecast £10.8 million overspend by £4 million to £6.8 million through the actions, as I said, as set out in Table 2 of the report. Each directorate will continue to identify further recovery action and options to mitigate at-risk savings targets and ensure recurrent spending is sustainable within the resources available. Corporate directors will continue to develop directorate recovery plans to manage in-year delivery of services within, I repeat, within their approved budget. Furthermore, the additional expenditure controls that were implemented during financial year 23-24 and the associated management recovery actions had a very positive impact on the final outturn position, reducing the forecast overspend of £13.8 million reported at Q2 by the total of £5.1 million for the year ended 31st March 2024. We therefore have very clear evidence that these actions work, and I can confirm that these controls remain in place to support recovery activity in financial year 24-25. Directorate panels will continue to review expenditure on goods and services, as well as changes in staffing arrangements to maintain the increased level of rigour and challenge over expenditure for the remainder of this financial year. I would like to highlight to Cabinet that this is a very different position to that which we found ourselves in Q1 last year, where we had to take in-year action to identify the steps to reduce the forecast overspend of £13.5 million at Q1. This year, those steps are already in place, and we have now implemented Cabinet portfolio holders conducting detailed monthly reviews of their financial positions together with their corporate directors. This has been further supported by the quality of the financial reports that are produced for Cabinet, now being so much better than previously delivered. In fact, they have been improved so much that the financial team have been shortlisted for the 2024 Public Finance Award for Excellence in Governance, Reporting and Assurance. A review of the delivery status of the 2024-25 approved savings has also been undertaken, informed by planned and actual activity in the year to date, to determine the savings targets at risk of in-year delivery. This review confirms that 8.2 million, or 43% of the total savings target for the year, have been delivered at Q1, with a further £6.5 million, or 33%, assessed as on target or in progress for the year, with savings of £4.8 million, or 24%, being assessed as at risk, with work underway to identify mitigations as a priority. I would remind you again that at risk is defined as where activity is not progressed enough at this point in the year to evidence that that saving can be realised. The budget amendment approved in February 2024 removes savings of £2.3 million from the Children and Young People's Directorate budget. As at June 2024, savings targets S2, reduction in social worker establishment, and S3, reduction in number of agency social workers, totalling £1.3 million, are confirmed as delivered in full. Confirmed as delivered in full. Activity to deliver savings target S1, reduction in high-cost placements of £1 million, is assessed as in progress, but is not reflected in the outturn position for Q1. However, if we were today at Q4, then that savings target would be confirmed as having been achieved. This budget is monitored on a weekly basis due to its volatility and the risk of impact on the Directorate's financial outturn. As activity to deliver this target progresses to provide assurance of delivery, achievement of the savings will be reflected in the continuing outturn position. This is responsible reporting and not just stating good news. The delivery of savings in full and on time is critical to ensure that the 2024-25 revenue outturn position is balanced and to prevent further pressure on future years' budgets. Progress on delivery of savings and mitigations will continue to be monitored and reported in the next budget monitoring report to Cabinet. I therefore remain confident that corporate directors and Cabinet members are working to manage the in-year cost pressures and ensure continued delivery of savings. My confidence in this is supported by Grant Thornton, our external auditors, whose audit findings on the audit findings report and the value for money report for the 2023-24 financial year provide valuable external assurance in respect of the Council's financial sustainability and resilience, with no significant weaknesses identified. Furthermore, as part of this year's work, Grant Thornton also undertook a detailed review of children's services finances, comprising of additional work to better understand the drivers of the overspend in children's services and where expenditure assumptions are realistic. Their findings are positive and note that Herefordshire Council has set a budget for children's services which is based on realistic assumptions. Thus, this is even more evidence of the improved financial grip being applied by Tina Russell and her team in the Children and Young People's Directorate. The external audit report also provides valuable external assurance over the controls and processes that we have in place, confirming that arrangements for identifying, developing, monitoring and reporting on savings are appropriate. I quote, reviewing our budget setting process and scenario planning for 2024-25 confirms that the budget is based on realistic assumptions in key areas. The review then, in respect of the 2023-24 budget, recognises that robust expenditure controls were introduced to reduce the overspend by £5.1 million. I would now like to turn to the other aspect of the budget, namely the capital outturn. The 2024-25 approved capital budget of £160 million has been revised to £176.1 million. This revised capital budget includes £15.3 million of unspent project budgets brought forward from 2023-24, approved movements of £0.3 million, removal of a project, namely Mailor's Library, at £2.6 million, and £3.1 million of additional grants. The summary breakdown is shown at Table 4 of this report. The forecast spend position is £110.3 million, which represents an underspend of £65.8 million against a budget of £176.1 million. The full details of each project are contained in Appendix B, Table A. This underspend consists of £3.2 million from projects that will deliver below the project budget and £62.6 million in respect of project budgets to be rolled forward for delivery in financial year 2025-26. These amounts represent budgets that may not be committed in this financial year for projects which are funded by grants or construction has started late, and therefore the budget is retained for delivery in future periods. The forecast underspend will reduce in Q2 when the budgets are reprofiled to match expected delivery due to the movement of the budget to future years, as per the guidance from external audit, to have an updated budget position halfway through the year rather than continuing to report underspends. The full capital programme analysed by project for future and current years can be seen in full detail at Appendix B, Table B. At the recent Scrutiny Management Board, the members were frustrated with the slowness of the capital programme. I do believe, however, that we are making significant progress with the delivery of the capital programme. To date, in financial year 24-25, we have spent £23.1 million with further commitments of £35.1 million to give a total of £58.2 million. This is a significant increase in previous years, where at the same point we'd committed or spent in 2023-24 £34.3 million and in 2022-23 £35.5 million. At our recent Scrutiny Management Board meeting, I confirmed to the Chair and the committee that as part of our routine financial processes, we will, in the very near future, conduct a full and detailed review and update of Herefordshire Council's reserve strategy. This will thus ensure that this strategy is fully aligned with our financial plans and that we continue to make the most efficient use of the Council's reserves. This Conservative-led administration is fully committed to delivering a balanced budget to avoid future financial pressures, both in this year's budget together with the financial year 25-26 budget, which we're currently in the early stages of setting. The report by our auditors, Grant Thornton, provides valuable external assurance of the controls and processes that we have in place to support this budget setting and states that arrangements for identifying, developing, monitoring and reporting on savings are appropriate, and that the 24-25 financial year budget is based on realistic assumptions in key areas. I would also like to take this opportunity to reinforce my previous statements that Herefordshire Council's financial position remains strong and stable, and this is based on the fact that we have robust governance framework in place, our reserves are above an average level for a unitary council, and that we have low levels of borrowing. The Council's accounts for financial year 2023-24 have recently been subject to audit, and the audit finding report will be presented to the Audit and Governance Committee later on today. Of particular note, I would like to highlight that we expect to be one of the first councils in the country to receive an audit opinion for financial year 23-24. The audit of the accounts provide valuable external assurance over the accuracy of the Council's reported financial position and performance. It clearly demonstrates the strong commitment of our Director of Finance, Rachel Sanders, and her diligent team in delivering the best for Herefordshire in everything that we can do. In conclusion, Leader, therefore, I would now like to invite my colleagues to endorse this report and its 3 recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stoddart, and thank you for that comprehensive assessment of the agenda item. Cabinet members, any Cabinet members like to comment? Councillor Swinglehurst.
Thank you, Councillor Stoddart, for that. I'd just like to raise a question around the budget amendment line and what your view of the implications of that are. So, as my understanding is that that there's good evidence that the savings that were going to be in the budget are on track, but nevertheless there's been an impact.
Thank you, Councillor. The impact on that, which Councillor Proctor will recognise, when I sat here the other week and was discussing with the SMB, the impact of that amendment was such that no monies were moved, but what we had was that we were unable to use that £2.3 million of reserve to cover the overspend last year of £8.7 million, which is why we had to go to different other areas, including the £800,000 that we took from the Climate Reserve Fund. So that's the impact of that amendment. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other Cabinet members? If not, I'll go to group leaders. If any group leader wishes to speak, Councillor Harvey and then Councillor Toynbee.
Thank you, Leader, and thank you, Councillor Stoddart, for your fulsome presentation of the report. Independents for Herefordshire welcome this report, but we're less welcoming of the length of time that it's taken to come to a cabinet meeting and be publicly published. Last financial year finished on the 31st of March, and officers had the Q4 budget report available to publish in the cabinet agenda just 4 weeks later. But Q1 of this year closed on the 30th of June, and here we are seeing the report 11 weeks later before it's made public. We know that our officers can produce this report much sooner than that. Surely we should be bringing it into the public domain faster. We are within days of the closure of Q2, and we're only just debating this Q1 outturn. It feels like it feels frustrating to be in that position, and I really would, and my group would encourage you and officers to work to bring the quarter reports more swiftly to the Cabinet and to the public's gaze. Last year, quarter one finished Quarter one finished 4 months after the budget for the year had been approved, and the actual spend for the year forecast at quarter one was 7% over the agreed budget. The actual outturn 9 months later of 13.5 million was within 2% of the first forecast. Why is it that our officers can be nearly 4 times more accurate in forecasting 9 months ahead than they are forecasting 15 months ahead when the budget is set? It's I don't understand. The overspend of 10.8 million that's being forecast at Q1 now is better than the 13.5 million that was being forecast a year ago. However, it is in this budget with a structural injection of over £10 million into the base budget of Children's Directorate. So, to be quite honest, I'm really glad that we're not seeing a forecast overspend at the moment from this directorate, because the investment has been made up front in providing significantly more funding to that directorate in the first place. My group welcomes the delivery of the on time of the forecast savings for the directorate, and also for Councillor Stoddart's clarification of the impact of taking funds from reserves in providing a loan from reserves of 2.3 million, which, as everybody understood in council when that was being made, that was in order to give assurance that we were delivering a balanced budget at that point in the year and not relying on savings that historically the directorate had signally failed to deliver on. However, I'm looking forward to being assured that the 800,000 that was plundered from the climate reserve at the end of last financial year to plug the overspend will be being repaid to that earmarked reserve as these delivered savings repay the reserves as they're declared in year, which again is in line with the resolution that was made at full council back in February. My group welcomes the accounting for that budget amendment being clearly stated in the report. However, the current at-risk element of the children's savings programme of £1 million is less clearly represented in Appendix 1 than we would like to see. Consequently, in the detail that's showing in that appendix, it's looking on the face of it like the directorate has a £500,000 underspend, which isn't actually the case. It's frustrating to see in the detail of the report that delivery plans are not in place across the board for all the savings programmes. It was something that had been in the schedule for Scrutiny Management Board to look at back in June in order to gain some assurance that those delivery plans were in existence and in place. I share any frustration that Cabinet members might have as regards to the tardiness of delivery plans coming forward. And particularly, it's concerning that the Thrive programme appears not to have a delivery plan that has been approved, certainly at quarter one. I'm looking forward to hearing that that situation has been corrected for the Q2 report when we get to hear about it. Independence for Herefordshire is becoming increasingly concerned that we have a bow wave of high needs care cases that are starting to appear in the Adults Directorate as a consequence of continued care in the home for people becoming unviable or unsafe for our increasingly elderly residents. So pressures we fear are likely to continue to mount in the adult social care side of things, and the kind of action that has been taken to embed financial staff in children's area to support the service and to give assurance on spending in that directorate, we would encourage also to be modelled in the Adults Directorate to provide staff and service teams in that area with additional financial support ahead of these pressures continuing to mount. My group is concerned to see that there is a forecast under delivery of income of 1.3 million in the planning area. Considerable effort was gone to during the budget preparation phase to challenge through Scrutiny Management Board the income and savings targets that were being brought forward. And it's disappointing to see that at Q1 such a significant under-delivery of income is being forecast in this service area. Delivery of income targets is as important as delivery of savings, and currently, because income is netted out in the way that the figures are presented in these reports, income targets are utterly invisible in these budget monitoring reports, and Independence for Herefordshire would urge that that is something that is corrected in future budget monitoring reports, so that we can have visible both the incomes targets and the many areas of this council which are actually delivering on those, and so that we can give public assurance where that is the case. With that, I'll leave it. Oh no, I won't actually. I'll say something about the capital programme. Yes, there's always elements of the capital programme which roll forward into this financial year from last year, and there always seems to be a slight under-delivery against our initial ambitions on the capital programme. It's a frustration, I think, to all councillors, and I'm sure to Cabinet also. We don't put things in the capital programme for the fun of it. We put in there because we actually believe that these are really important investments for the county and to support service delivery and transformation and to build community capability. What the problem is in terms of our officers turning those ambitions into action, it would be really great to get to the bottom of. It would be lovely to have a capital programme that actually delivered in year as planned, and if they're not, let's get the profiling right from the outset. The capital programme looks forward 3 years. Surely we can profile it properly against those 3 years so we know what we're actually going to deliver in year, and then we jolly well go ahead and deliver it.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey, and I'm sure Councillor Stoddard would like to pick up some of the points that were made there and give his response to the meeting, but we certainly got our money's worth there. Thank you, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Toynbee.
Yes, thank you. I endorse what Councillor Harvey said about publication dates and upfront funding for children's services and about repaying reserves. We're still deleting vacant posts. That's something that really leaps out at us in all these papers, and it worries us as a group. so-called savings are bound to have an impact on our services and on pressure on staff workloads. We don't know what the process is for deciding which posts to kill. The culling goes on, and I imagine it's a worry for Cabinet. There's a danger of us cutting high-level jobs and getting fewer people joining us with valuable experience. So it's a big worry for us, the deleting of vacant posts. And my other point is just about city centre improvements on page 74. And I trust that the city centre master plan, which I'm sure Cabinet is all aware of, is being used in this work so that we look at the city in a holistic and creative way. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Davis.
Keeping it short, I'd like to say thank you very much to Councillor Stoddart for this very thorough report. And we particularly like the words strong and stable. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Davis. Councillor James.
Thank you, Leader. Just to say, it's fortunate that we do have variances within the capital budget, because that affords us very often. Some of the best projects we've ever done have been afforded by the fact that there were variances within the capital programme. We've never been able to deliver within a year the whole programme. Neither has any other council, I think, in the country ever done that. It's the nature of capital projects as such. It's the degree of it that may concern us or not, as the case may be. But, you know, that is the one area where we do have a certain amount of flexibility, and if something comes along that is desperately needed, we can move, and that often is in the case of capital expenditure on homelessness. You know, that affords us those opportunities, as it were. So, apart from that, you know, this is as much as anything for noting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor James. On the specific point about posts and deletion of posts, there's always a rationale for that. So perhaps outside the meeting, if we can just make the explanation as to how that process goes about, because some of these posts have been vacant for a very long time, and so there's a natural rationale for that. But if we can clarify that outside the meeting. But Councillor Stoddart.
Thank you, Leader. If I can respond to Councillor Thornby's point, over the last few days there's been the staff forum going on, and last week we were positioned with the employment survey, both of which I believe are very positive. So whilst there are restructurings going on, I don't think we're quite hollowing things out and going on that way. So that's the first point there. So thank you very much. But as the Leader said, we'll happily work with you and talk through where those folks went. To address Councillor Harvey's points, I would like to come back and say that at all times we aim to be transparent and open in our reporting. I take Councillor Harvey's comments on board and thank her for them, and we'll look to consider how we can best present these details in the next report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Swinglehurst.
Thank you. So I'm just picking up on the point that was raised by Councillor Harvey in respect to the income for the planning target. So quite right to raise that point. I've got concerns there. The target's been the same for the last 5 years with uplifts for national increases. But it's also hasn't been met in the last 5 years. So I think that it strikes me that there's an embedded problem here with the target. But this needs to be approached through kind of an evidence-based examination. So what I've done is we've got a transformation programme through the Planning Improvement Board looking at the appropriateness of the target. Commissioned a deep dive through SWAP to look at our income levels and staffing capacity in comparison to other authorities. And we've identified that the level of current actual income is in line with other similar rural authorities, so that suggests that the problem is with the target and not with the performance of the directorate. and the current review of the MPPF is likely to have an impact as well, which we have to bear in mind. The income through pre-app services is lower, but you'll be aware that we're just launching a new pre-app service, and so we'll see that hopefully changing through time. But I think the important message here is that you're very correct to raise this as an issue. I think it's a long-standing problem. It having come to my attention, we're doing work to look at whether whether the problem lies with the target or with the performance of the directorate, and there will be some conversations around revision of the target in the light of the work that's been done to date. Thank you.
Right. Okay. Thank you for all of those comments. Is there any other comments from Cabinet members? If not, Councillor Stoddard, you're proposing the report and to note all of the actions on the report. I'll second that. All Cabinet in favour? Okay. Thank you very much. Oh, just to make the point though, before we move on to the next item, with regard to reporting of Q1, this is the normal time at which we report it. So I'm not really clear on why Councillor Harvey thought we were being late. So it's the same as every year.
Sorry, Leader, just to be clear, I didn't think that we were being late. I recognise this is when it's normally done, but it doesn't have to be like that.
Well, but I think it gives us plenty of opportunity to digest all the information and present it at a time where everyone's had an opportunity to review the matters. Right, okay, so we go on to agenda item 9, which is the Q1 performance report. So the purpose of this report is to review the performance from the quarter and report on all the directorates for this period. The item begins on page 89 of the agenda pack, and I look to Councillor Stoddard to introduce the item. Thank you.
Once again, thank you, Leader. Today, I am very pleased to present the Q1 performance report for financial year 2024-25. This is the first report in respect to the new council plan of 2024-28 and the associated delivery plan of 24-25. In line with our vision for Herefordshire and delivering the best for Herefordshire in everything that we do, we have sought to make this report both accessible and clear. Of the 162 milestones that were due to be in progress in Q1 under the delivery plan, 142 or 88% have been completed or are on track. Not only that, but beyond the delivery plan, Herefordshire Council has achieved many successes in Q1 of 24-25. We continue to deliver on our capital investment programme, which comprises of over 100 projects. The table at para 3 of the report provides some highlights from Q1 and includes the Museum and Art Gallery, which has received planning permission and plan to procure the construction contractor later this autumn. The design stage of the Shire Hall and Library and Learning Centre is nearing completion and remains on track for an opening in October 2026. Single homelessness accommodation programme has seen 5 properties purchased and 3 more in the process of being purchased. The road resurfacing programme across the county is well underway, with phase 1 now complete. A busy programme of maintenance on several schools under the School Capital Maintenance programme across the county has seen expenditure of £1.2 million. The new gritters, at a cost of £1.4 million, are now on site in Rotherwas and are ready for use to keep Herefordshire gritted in severe weather conditions over the next winter. And then finally, the new waste collection vehicles have been purchased and will be operational in the coming weeks. I would also like to highlight that a significant £6 million Hereford City Centre Improvement Programme has come to a close during Q1, which has included public art across the city, which has received an overwhelming positive response from residents, Widemarsh Street enhancement works, city greening projects, market stall gazebos, high-town improvements, shopfront grant scheme and CCTV enhancements. Other highlights include the joint autism strategy for Herefordshire and Worcestershire was presented to the Health and Wellbeing Board with a positive reception. Work is ongoing to now develop the action plans for each of these priority areas. 12 grants have been awarded through the Safer Communities Fund, investing over £900,000 in prevention-focused projects for children and families. And this fund is jointly supported by the Police and Crime Commissioner and Herefordshire Council. The Hereford Public Art Programme launched a new trail of 60 murals and sculptures as part of the Hereford Improvement Project. And additionally, Herefordshire was awarded £736,000 by the Arts Council of England for a 3-year cultural development project aimed at enhancing community engagement with cultural activities. I would now like to turn to the first of the Council Plan themes, namely that of people. The graphic in the report shows that of the 50 milestones in the delivery plan, 8 are now completed, 37 are on target, and 5 are at risk of missing their deadline. There have also been some noteworthy successes in Q1 that have enhanced the lives of our residents, and these include the implementation plan for the Good Mental Health Strategy was updated and presented to the Health and Wellbeing Board. Public Health has also secured £200,000 for a pilot cardiovascular disease, or CVD, workplace health checks project, and have launched Street Tag, an interactive initiative to increase physical activity among schools, with 13 schools participating. As part of the Walk to School week in May, 7 workshops were delivered to 173 pupils and 7 assemblies to 1,243 pupils. The Solihull Approach parenting programme, aimed at promoting emotional health and well-being of children and young people, is currently exceeding target, with 422 registrations and 872 courses started. Workshops have also taken place with primary care networks to improve partnership working and increase referrals to the Stop Smoking service, and specialist training has been arranged with maternity services to improve support for pregnant women. 26 providers have all been awarded a contract for supported living, and 13 providers awarded a contract for community activities as part of the implementation of a new framework. I'm also very pleased to highlight another area of significant success, which is improving the quality of lives in Herefordshire's children and young people. In Q1, Herefordshire Council has revised the Children's Improvement Plan for 24-25, which has subsequently been approved by the Improvement Board. We've revised action plans agreed with our improvement plan partner, Leeds, and this is coordinated with the Phase 2 improvement plan and takes us through to March 2025, when that contract with Leeds is expected to end. We've also set out our plans with partner agencies for implementation of the new Working Together 2023, coordinated through Herefordshire's Children's Safeguarding Partnership, and have also progressed our successful bid to open a new special free school. I would now like to turn to the theme of place, and once again draw your attention to the graphic, which shows of the 52 milestones in the delivery plan, 4 are completed, 39 are on target, and 9 are at risk of missing a deadline. As part of the redevelopment of the local plan, Regulation 18 consultation across the county has been completed, and responses currently are being reviewed. I would like to ad-lib that is obviously going to be subsequently subject to the ongoing discussion with central government. Delivery of the new road strategy continues, with consultant procurement progressing for the design review of Phase 1, the southern section of the Western Bypass, and the scheme review of Phase 2, the Western Bypass. A land agent has been appointed and a programme agreed in respect of land acquisition for Phase 1. The Public Realm Services operating model for the new contract has been approved by Cabinet, and soft market engagement is due to commence in Q2. In Q1, Luston Wetland Project won the LGC Award in the Environmental Services category and the RTPI Award for Best Project. It was also awarded highly commended at the MJ Awards for leadership in responding to the climate emergency and for Best Mitigation Project at the CIEEM Awards. Significant progress has been made on the Leominster Heritage Action Zone project following the successful procurement of a contractor. The Council has also delivered the Nature Recovery Network mapping and developed guidance for the management of the Council's tree and hedgerow stock to enhance our environment. A key priority in the new Council plan relates to recycling rates, and a new waste contract is due to start in the next quarter. In the meantime, improvement in recycling rates has been seen due to increased composting at household recycling centres, and the Council aims to develop a recycling profile to account for seasonal fluctuation. Significant work has also gone into the Carbon County reduction activities, which is a key priority within the new council plan and includes items such as Greener Footprints Week 2024, a part of the National Great Big Green Week focusing on communication engagement with residents and businesses, a significant increase in business participation at the Big Green Business Event, 110 attendees from 92 businesses, which is a successful comparison to last year where we had 27 attendees from 20 businesses. And then finally, an expansion of the electric vehicle infrastructure continues with 6 new charge points installed in Leominster, contributing to the target of 60 sockets by 24-25. Turning now to the third of our themes, growth, I would like to highlight that the graphic shows that of the 39 milestones in the delivery plan, 1 is completed, 32 are on target, 5 are at risk of missing a deadline, and 1 is not on target. As part of the Council's objective to develop employment land across the county, a multidisciplinary design team has been appointed to develop designs for Ross Enterprise Park. Additional employment land opportunities are being explored and £25,000 has been allocated to all market towns to undertake feasibility studies. The Herefordshire and Worcestershire Group Training Association are currently unable to secure the necessary financing for the construction and site acquisition to establish a new centre of excellence at Scarlon Park. As a result, the Council is evaluating alternative options by developing a Green Book business case to explore different funding models and solutions for this project. Engagement with housing delivery partners is ongoing, with work being undertaken through the Marches Forum to identify barriers and solutions to growth for high quality and affordable housing. The Council is out to tender for master plan architects to provide feasibility concepts around Merton Meadow, the Essex Arms and bus station sites to form a multi-generational urban village. Significant progress has also been made in allocating UK shared prosperity funds and rural England prosperity funds, with applications for community infrastructure and community capacity grants having exceeded available funding and are currently being appraised, with all funds expected to be allocated at the end of July. Most of the rural enterprise and rural tourism funds have already been allocated, with the remaining funds to be used for topping up community grant schemes and ensuring completion allocation by the end of July 2025. Herefordshire has also been successful in securing local visitor economy partnership status. Finally, the fourth and final theme of transformation shows within the graphic that there are 21 milestones with 1 completed and 20 on target. I would like to particularly highlight that significant transformation work is being undertaken in the digital sphere, where key projects include the implementation of OneDrive and data to migration to Teams, together with simplified login procedures as part of the Windows 11 upgrade, are all on track. Improvements to the planning and regulatory and HomePoint systems are underway. The new workforce strategy that incorporates the Council's updated values, following a planned programme of staff engagement, have been approved and launched. And then lastly, significant work is underway to improve and transform the way that residents access council services, supported with the development of an implementation plan for the customer service strategy, the development of the customer standards, and review has commenced of some of the council's customer processes and content on the council's website. Work is also progressing to procure a new telephony and website platform for the council, which will provide a good foundation to enable the council to modernise its services. The Office for Oflog, the Office for Local Government, or Oflog, is an office of the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, and has been established to provide information about the performance of local government to audiences in all levels of government and to the public. One of the primary tools that Oflog will use to monitor this is local government performance will be via the Local Authority Data Explorer. The aim of this tool is to create an overlapping and holistic picture of local government performance, with the facility to easily view metrics across different domains. At present, the Explorer covers 6 areas of performance. These are waste management, planning, adult social care, roads, adult skills, corporate and finance. However, some of the data published by Oflog is historic and therefore we believe should be interpreted with caution. The following top 10 indicators have therefore been selected by Herefordshire Council to demonstrate a more meaningful indication of our latest performance. So the key performance indicators are percentage of service users aged 65 plus discharged from hospital into Home First who are still at home 91 days after discharge. The 23-24 actual figure was 70.4%. The Q1 projection was 80% and the Q1 actual target achieved is 77.1%. The next key performance indicator is percentage of children and young people social work assessments completed within timescale of 45 days. The actual from 23-24 was 79.1, the Q1 projection was 84%, and the Q1 actual is 54%. Percentage of children in care who have an up-to-date review, the 23-24 actual was 86.4, the Q1 projection was 95%, and the Q1 actual is 92.4%. The percentage of major planning applications dealt with within 13 weeks or 16 weeks if subject to an environmental impact assessment or within agreed extension times. The previous year was 92.3%. The target, the projection was 70%, and the target actually achieved is 100%. The percentage of non-major, minor and other planning applications dealt with within 8 weeks or within an agreed extension time last year was 79.61%. The projection was 80%. The actual figure is 75.4%. The number of kilograms of waste that's not being sent to reuse, recycling or composting per household, the actual from last year was 471.03 kilograms. The projection was 120 kilograms and the actual figure achieved was 119.85 kilograms. Number of affordable homes delivered, last year 268, the target 65, the number achieved 64. The local count of Herefordshire homelessness, last year was 5, the projection was 19 and the actual figure was 18. 2 to go. Value of grants paid to businesses to support viability and enable growth through the UK Shared Prosperity Fund and Rural England Prosperity Fund was 1,198,605. The figure for this quarter one was £211,195 and the actual figure achieved was 88,324.35. And then finally, the average days of sickness per FTE last year was 9.1. The target set for Q1 was 9, and the actual figure achieved was 8.77. Appendix A to the report provides the detailed status of all 162 milestones contained within the delivery plan of 24-25 across the 4 themes of people, place, growth and transformation. In conclusion then, this report highlights the good and excellent work that Herefordshire Council is doing in support of our residents, and I would now like to invite my Cabinet colleagues to endorse it and its single recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Stoddart, for that comprehensive overview of the performance of the Council, which is very encouraging. Any Cabinet members wish to comment? Councillor Powell.
Thank you. I think it's important that I pick up on the percentage of children and young people's social work assessments completed within the 45 days. You can see it's substantially under the target. There is an issue there. 3 members of staff are currently not at work. When that happens, there are some considerations which have to be made. So if they are not at work through illness, is it wise to immediately reallocate the case, or actually, if we anticipate that individual maybe returning to work in not many days, it may be sensible just to hold that case open. And of course, it may well be that having made that initial decision, we then find out that the staff member is going to be at work for a longer period, and so you then have to reflect. I've mentioned the management of caseloads earlier. As an average, each of those lead social workers will have a caseload of about 25 cases. So that means, therefore, with their absence, there's a need to reallocate 75 cases. So we are onto the detail of that. We understand it, and considerations and management action are in place to obviously improve that as we move forwards.
Thank you for that clarification, Councillor Powell, on that specific point about performance. Okay, if there are no other comments at this stage from Cabinet, then I'll invite group leaders to comment. Councillor Harvey.
Thank you, Leader. Independents for Herefordshire are welcome this report and are on the one hand, really pleased to see how many of the fields are green in terms of on track for delivery. But having said that, it's really quite difficult to be assured of that when there isn't any information about when what the delivery aim points are for those particular items, and I alluded to it in comments on the budget item on the children's programme. So we would like to see timescales for delivery clearly stated, recognising that those might move depending on government legislation and other circumstances. But let's understand what the aim points are so that we can put in context what on track actually means. For example, when is the Regulation 19 consultation on the update of the local plan actually planned to commence? Just as an example. So Independents for Herefordshire are also concerned that this administration is holding back on making public that you have no confirmation of government funding for the Southern Link Road and the Western Bypass, with the change in party administration at the top of the shop in July. The Conservative candidate for Credon Hill by-election is openly stating that the funding isn't there and that the roads won't happen. We recommend that spending of real public money from our reserves in pursuing these projects should actually be paused now until both a new source of funding is identified and agreed and the Department of Transport's concerns about policy compliance and value for money for these projects have been satisfied. It's difficult to reconcile the information in the budget forecast report item that we've just heard regarding almost the entirety of the Thrive programme savings being at risk of delivery, with all the relevant performance deliverables linked to this initiative in the transformation section of the performance report showing as green. So an explanation of that would be appreciated. And finally, we would like to suggest that in future this report would actually benefit from also including publication of the Council's and Directorate level risk registers for Cabinet consideration to give assurance that these registers are being actively managed and that the detail of their content is being given Cabinet oversight.
Thank you for those contributions, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Toynbee.
Yes, thank you. Yes, it's really good to see progress being made on various fronts, and the Green Group is keeping a close eye on all these projects. I'm following on from what Councillor Harvey was saying about the transport plans. Naturally, we believe that the focus on roads before doing everything we can for walking, cycling and buses seems to contradict policies elsewhere in our own county plans, which emphasise active travel and protecting our environment. And as Councillor Harvey said, there's huge uncertainty over funding from central government, so we don't want to be putting money into things that we're not certain are actually going to happen. I'm just picking out a couple of things. We're really pleased about the homeless accommodation purchase, and we believe that owning and controlling our own assets on behalf of local people is the way to go, and that when councils sell off assets, it's been a huge mistake, both locally and naturally. On page 95, that table of KPIs with sort of national comparisons, I'm a bit surprised about the first one, which is the percentage of people discharged from hospital who are still at home. Okay, that's a valid measure, but I think we all hear from our residents that a measure that has far more impact on them is the actual delay, is how long does it take for them to be, when they're ready for discharge, and the hospital wants them to be discharged, but they haven't got a package in place at home. As far as I'm concerned, that is a measure that has more impact on local residents than how many of them are still at home. 91 days later, even though that's also very important. And finally, just a small point about the Shopfronts grant scheme, which I know that Councillor Durkin is also aware of. It also appears in item 8 about the budget because there was a lack of bids for this scheme. So it was a saving in the budget because people didn't take it up. But I'm on City Council, and it seems that the take-up was low because the minimum grants were set very high, and it seems that many shopkeepers would like to refresh their shop fronts, but they don't want to put in a bid for some sort of huge thing that's going to be a lot of work. It could be something much, just a few hundred quid maybe. So I hope that we can review the thresholds for that, and then it'd be better taken up because, as we can see, it's been a wasted opportunity, as we can see if we walk around the city centre. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Toynbee. Bearing those comments in mind, Councillor James.
Thank you. I'm glad to see you've got the balance of the targets against the achievability. You've got 2 reds, 4 yellows, and 4 greens, which suggests that it's just about the right level. The last thing you want is all greens or all reds, but otherwise you tend to say you haven't set the targets sufficiently testing. As to the spending on the link road, as we called it, now rebranded as phase 1 of the bypass. I mean, the cancellation of it has cost us over £22 million, which has been poured down the drain. If that hadn't have happened, we would have had a link road by now, and that money would have been used.
And Councillor Davis.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for the report. I would like to see more of the wording rural areas, but particularly, as my colleague has said about the shop fronts, we really do need some support there. Also, the recycling in our particular town, I don't see why we still have to have booking slots, which just seems to me to be ridiculous, as a lot of our residents are having to travel out of our town to go elsewhere. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure Councillor Stoddart may wish to come back on certain points, but with regard to presenting the reports, we're always looking to improve the way we present the reports. And so your points about, Councillor Harvey, your points about aim points and risk registers, we will bear that in mind and have that discussion. With regard to holding back, the Herefordshire Council's determined to deliver the best for Herefordshire, and so that will mean in terms of road infrastructure, we will continue to engage with government and tell them the necessity of having the right infrastructure, and that discussion will continue. With regard to the booking slots, Councillor Davis, I think we'll get back to you on that specifically, because that's always been a challenge in my mind as well. Councillor Stoddart, did you want to respond to any of the points made?
Thank you, Leader. Yes, if I can go back to Councillor Harvey. So you mentioned the risk registers, etc. I would like to bring it to your attention that exact item has been discussed this afternoon at the Audit and Governance and sits there, and that register is then held.
Councillor Harvey's shaking her head. It's always a dangerous sign, but let's see what the point she's wanting to make.
Thank you for letting me come back on that. Audit and Governance is responsible for the process by which risk is assessed. It is not responsible for the content of the risk register itself. So, yes, scrutiny committees can look at risk registers and can scrutinise individual risks, but I see nowhere in the way that we currently operate where the risk registers are considered publicly by the administration that owns them.
Okay, well, we'll bear that in mind, and thank you for that feedback. And Councillor Stoddart, any comments about any other group leaders, the points that were made? but they were duly noted. Thank you very much. So we have the recommendation in front of us. Councillor Stoddart is proposing. I will second. All in favour, Cabinet members? Excellent. Thank you. That leads us on to the last item on the agenda, which is to recommission the Integrated Community Equipment Service in Herefordshire. So this is to approve the recommissioning of that service. This is a joint service between Herefordshire Council and NHS Herefordshire and Worcestershire Integrated Care Board. The current Integrated Community Equipment Service contract ends on the 31st of March 2025. This report details the intended approach to recommission a new joint service from the 1st of April 2025 for up to 5 years. This is in line with both organisations' statutory duty to provide community equipment as set out by the Relevant Care Act of 2024 and the Children and Families Act, of 2014, and the same year, the Children's and Families Act 2014. So the agenda item begins on page 111 of the agenda pack, and I would now like to ask Councillor Gandhi to introduce the item. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, Leader. This item was recently considered at the non-member briefing, and as you've rightly said, the recommission of the Integrated Community Equipment Service, which we refer to as ICES, is in Herefordshire, is a joint service between Herefordshire Council and NHS Herefordshire and Worcester Integrated Care Board, which is known as the ICB. And both organisations have a statutory duty to provide community equipment as set out in the Care Act 2014 and the Children and Families Act of 2014. You've mentioned the fact that the contract with NRS Healthcare ends on the 31st of March. The service provides free and appropriate equipment to meet the assessed eligible needs of people of all ages. It is an important preventative service that enables more people to remain living safely and independently in their own homes and communities for longer. It specifically helps with reducing unnecessary admissions to hospital or, as was mentioned earlier, the concerns or delayed discharges from hospital. The service predominantly supports older adults. However, it does also support a small number of disabled children, including providing equipment to education facilities to improve and enhance a child's access and attendance. And I would ask the Cabinet to approve the recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Gandhi. Any comments from Cabinet members? No? Okay. Group leaders? Councillor Harvey?
Thank you, Leader. We support the recommendation here to recommission. This is an important and really useful service that many of our residents rely on. Could be a little bit better at getting the equipment back at the end of the loan period. But I think I'd like to just sort of have a pedantic moment. I tend to talk about big strategic stuff, but just a little moment of pedantry. Paragraph 6 of the report, first paragraph of its detail. Herefordshire does not have a predominantly older population. 53,000 people over the age of 65 only represents 28% of the total population, and predominantly means that, you know, our population is mainly older. It is not. We do have a larger than average proportion of older people in the county, and you know we do acknowledge that. But I would hate anybody applying for this tender to think that the majority of the population in Herefordshire would be making use of the service. They won't.
Thank you, Councillor Harvey. We're all getting predominantly older in this meeting, but the point you make is very well made, and there are statistics there that can help us clarify that specifically. So thank you. But thank you for your support, and Councillor Toynbee.
Yeah, thanks. Good point. But I'm a pedant as well. Yeah, just very briefly, yeah, the Green Group welcomes this, and we're pleased to attend the briefing on it. I've just got a few very brief points. In paragraph 14, about the key performance indicators, we trust that Cabinet members have seen these and are assured that they are the right ones for us. In paragraph 20, Councillor Harvey also mentioned the importance of I'm sure we all agree about the importance of returning equipment, and we'd like the reassurance that reuse and recycling of returned equipment is explicit in the contract, as well as, you know, us knowing, you know, where the equipment's sourced from. There is sort of environmental, ethical, various aspects to that. So, you know, we trust that we do have that information somewhere, because, you know, a contract is a great opportunity for leverage to get things done as well as possible. And finally, I think it's paragraph 24, for the budget, you know, we can be pretty certain that the demand for this is going to increase over the lifetime of the contract. So we hope that there are contingency plans for the fact that the cost might increase. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor Toynbee. Any other group leaders? No. Okay. So, Councillor Gandhi, the point about performance indicators, there's a point about the requirement of recycling and sourcing of equipment and making sure the equipment, and also the point about making sure the equipment gets returned. And then, will there be a budget pressure on this service if demand increases?
With regards to recycling and the desire for people to return the equipment, that is part of the contract that we're putting out. We accept that there has been an issue in the past with people returning equipment, and I suspect similarly that applies to the acute trust with equipment that they provide as well. I have seen key indicators, so no, the Cabinet hasn't, but I have seen key indicators, so I'm happy with those. We cannot forecast whether there will be a pressure on this service or not, because obviously, as some people return equipment which they no longer need, it is then recycled and used for new clients. But we cannot say, obviously, we cannot say at this stage that there will not be, because we just do not know what the need will be going forward. And that is why it is probably so important that through the work we're doing in public health, that we try to keep people as healthy as possible, so that as they grow older, they grow old healthily, rather than just grow old and deteriorate. So that's a lot of work that we are doing. So hopefully that will reduce the need for some of these pieces of equipment.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Gandhi, for picking up those points. So there are, if there are no other comments from group leaders, there are two recommendations, one to commission the contract and one to delegate authority to the director to deal with the tendering process and award the contract. So, Councillor Gandhi, I presume you will propose? Yeah, and Councillor Durkin will second. All Cabinet members in favour? Thank you. So we now go on to agenda item 11, which is to close the meeting. I would like to thank everyone for their attendance. That's Cabinet members, officers, group leaders and chairs of scrutiny committees, either online or in person. Thank you. The next meeting is scheduled for the 25th of October, and we will be returning to the 2:30 slot. So I will now formally close the meeting. All members of the public are requested to leave the building promptly.